Fiona, what's it like in Farquaad's castle? I'm stuck here in this swamp while you love that little rascal. Yes, it's true. The swamp is not much without you. It's cold and blue. Oh, it's what you do to me. Oh, my princess ogre queen.
Hey there, Fiona. Join the club. As always, make sure to follow my social media accounts at It's Lielers on Instagram, Threads, and X, and subscribe to the YouTube channel at It's Lielers. And also do not forget to follow me on TikTok at Lielers. Lielers on TikTok. So yeah, this week I forgot once again that there's going to be a movie review. But we're not going to leave it at the end of this episode. No, we're going to kick it off around the movies category, but at the very end. And yeah, that movie happens to be Joker, Folie, Ducks. And oh my god, if you guys have seen the reviews, all right. I'm debunking those damn reviews, okay? I'm not saying it was good, but I'm not also saying it was bad. So we're also going to be talking about last night's WWE Bad Blood Premium Live event and what the hell happened. Like, I feel like it was good at first, and then it was going bad for a while, for a really long while, and then it went back to good. So yeah. We're going to be talking about that at the very end of this episode. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get this episode started. And before we kick off this very juicy episode, I wanted to say that I am thinking about everybody who got severely affected by Hurricane Helene. I thought Beryl was one thing here in Texas, but then after seeing the aftermath of Helene, it was, oh my god. I saw roads destroyed, like everything collapsed to the point that there's no entryway for you to get into certain towns because the main road was destroyed due to like water rising, and it just swept away not only the roads but also buildings, cars. Like, oh my god. I did see and hear some sad stories. Like, a lot of people to this day are still missing loved ones. So yeah, my thoughts and prayers are with all of you guys. I never thought it was gonna get like shitty like that, and it wasn't like places like North Carolina. I think some parts in Georgia and Tennessee got affected like severely. The things with that, it's leading with people with limited food, no power at that too. Like, when there's no power, I would like, shipwrecks, of course. It's the things that we take for granted, and it's not even electricity, also hot showers. Like, honestly, guys, be grateful that you guys are not in that situation. If you are, I know there's so many sources out there. I know there's so many places that are trying to get food, all the kinds of resources that you can think of to y'all. I've seen other videos where like construction workers are making new pavements of the road while they're fixing the old road as well, so that way everybody can safely get to that area that is in need, and then others can still manage to evacuate. So yeah, definitely look into that, guys, if there's ways that you can help the people that in need. I know I did see there was one particular member from the band Cannibal Corpse whose name is Eric Rutan. I think that's his last name pronounced right. But he had to leave the tour to be with his family. They're trying to figure out like what to do in that aspect. And then I also found out that Dolly Parton actually announced that she donated $1 million to help those families in need. So the resources are there. So yeah, I know some people are like, oh, this is it, I'm stranded for life. No. We're thinking of you guys. So please, for the love of God, stay safe. And I'm hoping that you guys are able to hear good news in whatever situation that you're in. But yeah, moving along, I do have some happy news. It's like 2 of them, and then we'll go ahead and kick off the movies category in a bit. The first good news, congratulations to Frances Bean Cobain, yes, Kurt Cobain's daughter, and Riley Hawk, yes, Tony Hawk's son, for welcoming their new child with like the most awesomest name ever, Ronan Walker Cobain Hawk. Honestly, imagine being this child and having 2 legends as your grandpa. Like, wow. And speaking of grandpa, Eminem is also going to join that club. So he released his new music video for the song Temporary, in which he dedicates it to his daughter Hailey if, the time of his passing comes. And the music video shows clips of Hailey as a child and then other clips of her during her wedding day. And then we get to see Eminem, which of course he was the one that walked her down the aisle. But there was a moment where Eminem is looking at Hailey in her wedding outfit and my boy cried. And trust me, I think everybody else cried. Just when you thought, oh my god, this is it, that's the only part I'm gonna cry. No, it gets better. Then there's another clip, and again, this is during the music video, where Eminem is just sitting down and Hailey's coming out with a Lions jersey that she gives to Eminem. And when Eminem is like holding the jersey down, he's looking at the front side, but he didn't realize what's happening in the back. And Hailey basically got it to say grandpa with the number 1 on it. And then afterwards, the next clip, we see where Eminem is holding the picture of the ultrasound and he's like in disbelief. And we're over here like, he gave her the childhood that, he didn't get, and he broke generational trauma, which is amazing at the same time. And I couldn't help but to also notice that on the comment section of that music video, one person said, Slim made you laugh, Eminem made you think, and Marshall makes you cry. And I'm like, damn, pretty much. And I've seen another interview where I think it was 50 Cent that was being interviewed by someone, I forgot who. And 50 mentioned that supposedly him and Eminem were planning to do like this amazing tour. But that was like back in the days. But Eminem basically was like telling 50 like, oh, you should do it. Not with him though. And 50 was trying to convince him to do it, but then Eminem's response was like, look, I want to do it, but I don't want to come back and Hailey's grown. And I'm like, oh, my boy chose his daughter over his career. Let's fucking go. Like, yeah, it's like a full circle moment because look what's happening now. Like, he gave Hailey that childhood that he always wanted, minus the abuse, and Hailey grow up. She even has her own podcast where she talks about, like, oh, this and that, like with Eminem's career and whatnot. But she did mention how it was a struggle given the fact that Eminem was an addict. And so she even mentioned that whenever she listened to the song Temporary, like this is before the music video, she cried. It was that one, and there was another song, I forgot which one. And so I'm over here like, man, imagine if she were to see the music video, or maybe she already did and she's like, I can't watch this again. But still, I'm so happy that, Eminem did all of that, because now Hailey's like giving back, like as a form of saying thank you. And I'm like, oh my god, for us that went through so much trauma, we kind of wish we had a dad like that, or just any family member like that. But yeah, congratulations to Eminem. And again, congratulations to Francis and Riley for their new child. So it's like, So with that being said, let's go ahead and kick off the movie category. I hate to break this news to you guys, but we are now in the age where we can't even afford physical copy movies. Yeah. And whenever I buy physical copy, I usually buy like the steelbook collectible cases for movies that are like worth watching multiple times, like Deadpool. And I finally got to see like what that cover is gonna be, since the movie's about to be released like on Blu-ray, DVD, whatever. And I got to see the price, and it was not sitting well with me. I was like, no, this ain't it. I can't believe it. So at a whopping $65, yes, you heard correctly, $65. You can choose between Deadpool or Wolverine cover variant for the 4K UHD Steelbook that will be releasing later this month. Remember when movies were like $20? Blockbuster, how dare you betray us? And then Redbox is no longer here. Oh my god. And I even got to see you can actually rent Deadpool and Wolverine for like literally $30 on Amazon. Like, what the fuck? How dare you? Oh my god, inflation at its finest. I can't believe it. Just when I thought the digital era was gonna be so convenient, guess again, that's not gonna happen with me. How dare you? And especially with Deadpool and Wolverine. Like, really, guys? Come on. And then supposedly Deadpool and Wolverine is gonna be streaming on Disney Plus soon. I want to say it was gonna be in November though. November 1st, I think. But even then, I found out Disney Plus is still raising their prices just for the basic plan. By the way, I'm over here rambling. I'm sorry. But like for the basic plan, meaning ads, with ads, is gonna be $10 a month. I remember, 3-4 years ago? Sweet Jesus. And I think we talked about it on the podcast before. But when Disney Plus first initiated, it was $8 a month. Minus the ads. Minus those freaking ads. God damn it, advertising. And then I know, like, part of me kind of does like the advertising field, like marketing and all of that shit. But damn, man, now it's biting me in the ass, and I hate advertising now. Fuck you in the advertising field. God damn it, how dare y'all. I hate this. I hate this new era. Who else agrees? Let me know in the comment section if you're listening on YouTube or Spotify. But anywho, let's go ahead and move away from my tantrum and talk about something else. Yeah, let's talk about the Rugrats movie. Yeah, you heard right. So, Deadline announced that there's going to be a live-action Rugrats movies in the works, but it won't be an ordinary live-action film. The twist is that Tommy, Chucky, and the rest of the gang will be CG animated. And I kind of agree. When I saw the post, there's a comment by Joe Master 84 that says, quote, "Why do humans need to be CGI? Honestly." And then I also came across from a post from Now This that provided their, quote, cursed casting for the movie. Some of these are gonna make you laugh. Like, for example, the very first one, who should play Tommy, you ask? What about Tommy Holland? I mean, he already has the name to go with, so there's that. Another one, Chucky with Ed Sheeran. I don't know about that. Feels iffy, but again, it is cursed casting. They also said, oh, maybe Keke Palmer should play as Angelica, and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. But again, cursed casting. Then here comes even worse. Amy Poehler as Lillian and Seth Rogen as Philip, you know, the twin ones. And then Ayo Edebiri as Susie. And then Timothée Chalamet as Baby Dill. I was like, oh, can I get Tom Holland and Timothée Chalamet like next to each other so I can, you know, compare and contrast? And then they also did say that Kimmy, who happens to be Chucky's like stepsister, should be played by Maya Erskine. I think that's her last name. And then my favorite one was Cynthia, the doll, you know, with the weird hair. They said Miley Cyrus, but I'm saying Doja Cat. All I'm saying with that, I mean, they both fit the role, so whichever one y'all choose, by all means, is fine with me. Now we just gotta wait to see if they're gonna release a trailer for the actual live action series and see how that's gonna go. Honestly though, the fact that they're gonna have to CGI the characters, I'm like, it's not looking well for me already. In other news, Princess Diary 3 will be in the works with director Adele Lim, who also directed Crazy Rich Asians. I really love that movie. Y'all should check it out. But yeah, a lot of fans of this particular movie are saying that if Anne Hathaway does not come back to the next movie, no one will be interested in watching it. To be fair, I never watched the first or the second one, so I don't know what to expect. Am I gonna watch the third one? No. However, the next movie I'm about to talk about, that one I'm definitely going to be watching. Yeah, even though I talked shit about it not too long ago. So, Josh Hutcherson is teasing that Five Nights at Freddy's 2 will be bigger and scarier than the first film ahead of their planned filming schedule, which happens to be in a few weeks. All I gotta say is, if the marionette is not there, I will not be watching it. In other news, this is kind of cringy if you ask me. But there's a collaboration between Venom, as in Marvel Universe Venom, and Busta Rhymes. I don't know about that. Since the new movie is coming up, there's a video of Venom and, Tom Hardy in the studio rapping with Busta Rhymes, and it's kind of funny but a little bit cringy. I am hoping that this is not in the movie particularly, which, by the way, will be releasing on the same weekend that I'm going to be in SpaceCon, so I'm not going to be reviewing the movie until the following weekend, like already in November. Oh my god. But yeah, check out the video if you haven't done so, and I don't know, thoughts on it? Anywho, that kind of wraps a little bit of the movie category, because now I'm going to be talking about Joker Folie à Deux. And yes, this is going to be the spoiler-free version only. There's really not much for spoilers in a way. And before I even get into that, there is a video out there that y'all definitely should check out. But Terrifier 3 is also coming out like this coming weekend. And Art the Clown is currently in New York City, like, promoting the movies for people to watch it. And he came across like a promotional sign for the Joker movie. And all you see is like the camera panning out and then zooming to Art. And Art's over there shaking his head in disapproval. It's so hilarious. But yeah, I don't know. Terrifier 3 coming out this weekend. Maybe we should do a proper review. I still haven't seen the first or the second Terrifier movie. And I found out it's on HBO, I think. So I need to give it a chance soon, hopefully. We'll see, so stay tuned for next week. Anywho, so kicking off with the spoiler-free version, we're going to talk about the Rotten Tomatoes score and the audience score, which is not very favorable for this movie. Rotten Tomatoes score is sitting at a solid 33%, making it a very rotten movie. It's not good. They don't recommend it. Audience score is closely there. It's sitting at a 31%. Oh my god. So before I even get started with the rest, there are no end credits for this movie. Then when you watch the movie, it makes sense why. But yeah, so don't plan staying for the credits whenever they're rolling. You're more than welcome to leave. Todd Phillips also announced on The Hollywood Reporter that he is done with the DC Universe. He did say that James Gunn had zero input on Joker 2, but at the same time, what does that even matter? Warner Brothers did also tell him to, quote, continue to do his thing. It's like, look, the liberty is there. And the film also had no test screening, so I think that probably failed it. But at the same time, I'm like, well, who was involved in the first Joker movie? Because it landed an Oscar win for Joaquin Phoenix, so what's all that about? There is a social media platform called Wasted, and they posted that, quote, both fans and critics appear to agree that while Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga's deliver standout performances, the film's unusual musical approach and pacing have left many disappointed. So with that being said, what went wrong? I watched the movie, and trust me, I had an open mind because I was not gonna let the negative reviews affect the experience that I had. So yes, it's gonna be different. I don't know about y'all, because again, everybody's opinions are different. But I watched the movie, and literally in the beginning stages, it was okay. It was good. It was interesting. It kicked off with a cartoon, but again, I'm not gonna talk about what the cartoon involved because this is the spoiler-free version. The thing is that, yes, they did announce for so long, and I even mentioned it before, that this movie was going to be a musical. I didn't know how to feel about it for the same reason, but I did have some hopes for the same thought that, oh, well, look at Sweeney Todd, for example. But I was not expecting that when I watched this movie, they were trying to make it like a Broadway musical kind of way. And at the same time, not only, yeah, it was a musical, but the songs that were a part of the film did not go with the storyline that it implied. Like, maybe if they were gonna make it a musical, they had to make their own original songs and not literally just sing music that already existed. And that's what exactly happened. So there were parts of me where I was like, oh god, they're singing now. Like, it was annoying. I didn't like it. And then there were other moments where it's like, okay, you're in the movie, but let's zoom out and make a whole different scene that, again, does not intertwine with the storyline and add the music. So I think that's what happened. There was like a lot of shifting back and forth from the actual storyline to the musical part. So in my opinion, if there was no musical whatsoever, this movie would have done a little bit fairly. Why do I say this? Is because the plot of the movie did not make a little bit of sense. Like, it could have been better. So parts of the plot was basically kicking off from where the first Joker movie kicked off. And yeah, there were some parts where you remember, oh, this is from the first Joker. Okay, so there's that. But another part of me is like, okay, if you've seen the trailer, this is just like a little teeny tiny spoiler. But on the trailer itself, you see the courtroom. So you're already assuming where that's going to lead on. Personally, though, I feel like this movie could have been a psychological movie. What I mean by this is because Todd Phillips did say before this movie was released to just like reduce all your expectations from Joker from previous movies that we've seen. So it's not going to be the same Joker that we're used to. So I'm like, okay, well, let me clear that out of my head. And if we're going to have a different Joker, make it a little bit psychological, because that's what the first one gave off of. That Arthur Fleck was going through some things that he couldn't control. And that's what, again, the first one kind of gave off. The second one, it was like, no, Arthur knew what he was doing. And I'm like, that's where y'all fucked up. And then there's Harley, or Lee Quinzel, however you guys want to call her in the movie or outside. Her character was mostly like, I don't know, like I want to say how she was without having to spoil the movie, but think of it as a follower, basically an obsessive follower. That's all we can say. But an obsessive follower who has a will to check herself in and out of psychiatric ward. And that's where I'm like, that does not make any sense. At first, I was like, okay, I like how they gave Harley this kind of storyline. But then, boom, plot twist. And then, don't even get me started with the plot twist, too. There was another plot twist. Oh, and then there was a musical. And I'm like, really? Get to the freaking point, That's how bad it was. And if I had to agree between the rotten and the audience score, just to make it brief, honestly, 33 or 31%, I feel like with everything that I have seen, I would maybe say a 45%. It's still bad, but it's worth watching, because there were moments of this movie where I was hooked, and I'm like, this is cinema. Just for like maybe not even a minute or so, let's say 2 minutes of cinematic moments, and then it gets ruined by a musical moment. So yeah, that's why I would say maybe a 45% rating would be fair. But it was still bad because, again, plot didn't make any sense, unnecessary musical, and unnecessary scenes that were pushing us away from the storyline. It's so sad that they ruined the Joker for us. Again, the first movie was so good that Joaquin Phoenix is now Oscar winner. Like, oh my god, and they ruined it. But who? Like, some people are blaming obviously Todd Phillips because he's the one that written it and decided to go that route. But at the same time, again, he also did mention that James Gunn had no say in it, and I'm like, would he have made it better? Some people are saying, yeah, he would have. He could have thrown a little bit more comedic effect to not make it cringy, because that's what I saw in the movie too, where Joker was trying to be funny, and I'm just like, get to the point, But I don't know, like, it's so hard to convince y'all, like, okay, it's worth watching it, but at the same time, it's so bad. This is a first for me. This is a first in the podcast. That's why I'm like, I know if I had watched it, I thought it was gonna get mixed reviews, but I was not expecting to have, like, both rotten and audience score to just say no, don't watch it. But still, 31. I'm surprised, because there has been audience scores and Rotten Tomato score where it's still lower. I think we even said, Suicide Squad? Like the one with Jared Leto and, all of that. It was like still lower. I think it was like a 20-something% on the Rotten Tomato score. So there's still movies out there that are worse. So I'm like, okay, 33 is just still bad. It's really hard, guys. That's why I'm like, I'm telling you guys what I thought. And at the same time, it's like, save yourself. So do what you will with this information. I'm gonna leave it at that. And then who knows, maybe Terrifier 3 won't be as bad as Joker. We'll find out. Maybe Venom. I think Venom is gonna do bad, y'all. I even think it, because I love the first one and the second movie. I don't know about the third one. I don't have high hopes for it. That's why I'm like, yeah, we're gonna push it for the following week whenever I come back from SpaceCon. But that actually wraps up the movies category. Now let's talk about TV. Remember a couple of weeks ago we talked about the Emmys and said that Baby Reindeer dominated the limited series category? Well, the person that was based off as the stalker is now suing Netflix based on the attention that it received. Netflix failed to get Fiona Harvey to drop the lawsuit that claims the show told brutal lies about her. In Netflix's defense, they said that the show creator, which won so many Emmys, Richard Gadd, has every right to tell his story and even dramatize the story to make it fictional, because that's what it was. I wonder if Fiona actually sent the lawsuit on her iPhone and then, sent on my iPhone signature like she did on the series. Yeah, I watched the first episode, but only like maybe the first 20 minutes, so there's that. Anywho, another series got canceled and I'm low-key sad. That 90s show will not continue and Netflix unfortunately canceled it. Honestly though, it just wasn't it for the new and old audience of the franchise. Like, I liked the first season, but then again, it was because the OG cast was there making cameos. Like, it was a way of saying, okay, we're gonna go ahead and help you guys, get viewers, whatever. But then this new season, the second season, even though it was split into 2 parts, the OG cast wasn't there. It was only Donna at that point, Laura Prepon. So the new cast is gonna have to find ways to, grab our attention. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, last week we mentioned that Chucky got canceled. And again, I still haven't seen the other part that was released. But it was ironic because the last season that Chucky released, I think it was season 3, it was split into 2 parts. And then same thing with that 90s show, the last season they released, season 2, was also split into 2 parts. And I'm like, so if a show gets split into 2 parts, there's a possibility it might get canceled? Because we weren't aware that, the series was going to continue, like, hey, it's just split into 2 parts. I don't know. That's just me personally thinking out loud. And then back to the series itself, because I actually finished that 90s show the moment it got released, like the final part. So I'm like, the way how it ends, like, that's it. It's kind of sad. So basically, it looks like Leia leaves Point Place for good. That's it. Like, that's the end of the series. And it left in a bad note. But I'm also thinking out loud again, because I remember like when that 70s show ended, and it ended like way before I started watching it, because I think I started watching it when I was like 12, meaning that I was 12 in 07. So the show ended in 06. So like a year after the series ended, that's when I started watching that 70s show. But whenever that show ended, they tried to do another spin-off, which happens to be that 80s show, and it got canceled after season 1, I think, or like maybe a couple episodes afterwards, but it just didn't click after that. So when I heard that 90s show was gonna happen and they were trying to bring the original cast, I'm like, oh hell yeah, But yeah, no, after season 2, it just didn't click. So yeah, all right, enough rambling about that. Let's go ahead and talk about something else. So Culture Crave posted that Ewan McGregor says that they're, quote, exploring ideas for Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 2. So he wants to wear the Clone Wars armor and do more flashbacks with Hayden Christensen. And I'm like, my boy's coming back. Honestly though, all we want is a reboot or like a live action version of the Clone Wars. Please and thank you. So there's that. Hell, Disney, if you make it happen, I will pay the $10 a month basic plan with ads just to watch this series. Okay, so there's that. Take notes, please. In other news, the Spider-Noir series starring Nicolas Cage is now filming. There are some pictures of Nick just circling around the internet, but so far it's just him in a detective outfit. So yeah, where's the black and white, people? The last thing is kind of like a little discussion, but today is the day I found out that Breaking Bad's Peter Gould shared an early draft of a Breaking Bad script on Blue Sky from the episode Granite State, where Saul mentions his future managing a Hot Topic, not a Cinnabon. And I'm like, and I think I can say with a lot of people, like, we're kind of glad that route wasn't taken. I love how I saw this one comment by this person on Instagram that says, because tonight will be the night that I will solve for you over again. Reasons why I'm not a singer, but then again, how many ears are bleeding right now? Anywho, that wraps up the category for TV. Now let's talk about music. Something that I've been wanting to talk about since last week, and that is Corey and Clown Dawes Hot Ones versus. Where did that come from? Oh my god, I'm already getting that British accent thanks to that little thingy moment. So Corey and Clown finally sat down and asked each other some of the saucy questions that the internet has, and like, of course, they start off a little bit, okay, they're not hard questions, but as they get to the tough questions, obviously they have to endure who gets to eat the wing. Now, I got to see some of the questions. I'm not going to be talking about all of them, but some in particular, like one clip that they released was where Corey was asking Clown about some friendship test level, whatever. And Clown was like, oh god, I don't have any friends. And everybody in the comment section was like, yeah, because you fired them. I'm like, oh my god. So on one of the questions, Clown was asking Corey, like, hey, rate your beef between these people that you originally like talk shit. And Corey was saying, oh, like, it's funny how I'm getting asked this question whenever I'm working on myself. So now I learned that Corey now is trying to make a better version of himself compared to how he was back then, because back then he called himself an egoistic maniac with so much arrogance that led him to have all this beef with these people. So he would say, okay, like, current me is like, oh yeah, I'm acknowledging that, you know, I went through some shit because of my own fault and it had nothing to do with them. But then he was like, well, if I had to rate them with that attitude that I had back then, and he rated that, you know, the beef that he had with Limp Bizkit was mostly with the lead singer Fred Durst. Like, I guess the things that he represented back then just didn't sit well with Corey, and then he started talking shit, but then, you know, the rest of the band in Limp Bizkit started talking shit about Slipknot, and then it just kept going back and forth. So there's that. And then he said that he would put MGK in the middle because apparently MGK and Travis were working on a song that Corey wanted to be a part of, but then Corey is like, no, me and MGK are so similar, like, what's the point? But now it's like, okay, part of me is to blame, but also part of him, and he's hoping that MGK is working on himself to be better because MGK has also gone through shit. And then he ranked Nickelback last because it's just echoed music, like he said. It's always similar music. I don't know. So yeah, that's the rating he gave. And then another question that Clown gave to Corey just to test to see if he really is trying to improve himself was that, hey, Corey, you accused of some artists lip singing. Name some of those artists. And then Corey's like, man, like, he was looking at the crew that, you know, of Hot Ones or First We Feast, whoever. He's like, oh, you guys are assholes. So because of that, Corey's like, nah, fuck it, I'm gonna eat a death wing because I'm trying to be a better person. And then Clown made a side comment which now gives me an idea of who he is, because he was like, I'm glad I didn't get that question, meaning that he would actually throw some shade. And I'm like, that makes sense. But I don't want to see Clown as the bad guy all the time, because then during the friendship test, Corey had to guess who's Clown's favorite pop princess was. And it turned out to be Britney Spears. I was like, I can see him dancing to Hit Me Baby One More Time. But then Clown started adding to the answer that he actually learned so much about Britney's like background and the things that she went through, and now he respects Britney more because of that. I'm like, so okay, he's not all an asshole, okay? And then to end that little episode, First We Feast actually did like a little celebration for Slipknot to celebrate their 25th anniversary, and they gave them like a cake, they did like balloons, they literally had like happy birthday Slipknot, and I'm like, oh, that's so cute. But then they had a piñata, so like the first one to break the piñata wins, and then the other person has to eat a death wing. It was so hilarious because Clown did a Minecraft reference, and I'm like, oh my god, he's speaking to the youth. But Clown ended up hitting the piñata. They were having like a little goofy moment, and I'm just like, yeah, y'all can't say metalheads are always assholes. Look at these two, for example. But it was hilarious. Definitely go check out the episode. It's available on YouTube. I love it. Highly recommend it. And then on the comment section, First Sweet Feast actually put what other metal duos should face off. And of course, some people were like saying like James and Lars from Metallica. Another one was saying Emily Armstrong and Mike Shinoda, you know, from Linkin Park, or System of a Down, anyone from Gore. But then one was like Vessel, and two from Sleep Token. I'm like, boy, please. And speaking of Vessel, let's go ahead and talk about the next thing I have for you guys. So Vessel did his first ever interview, and with Loudwire at that. So he revealed his favorite 90s album, which happens to be Fantastic Planet by Failure. When you listen to it, it makes so much sense of why Sleep Token is Sleep Token. Also, since we're talking about Sleep Token, congratulations to Two for being nominated in the Progressive Rock category for this year's Modern Drummer Awards. So you can actually cast your vote if you want to see him win at moderndrummer.com. And if you go to the homepage, there's literally a poll that says Readers Poll. Click on it. I think you do have to make an account to cast your vote, but if you guys are diehard Sleep Token fans, I'm pretty sure that's not an issue. Anywho, let's go ahead and talk about other things. So I know we talked about this, 2 weeks ago already? Oh my god, has it been 2 weeks? Where Joey Jordison's family was actually in attendance at Knoxville, Iowa. And I remember we talked about the shirt that they were giving away for fans that attended and whatnot. And I was like, I would gladly pay money for that. Well, apparently, and this is a big like warning or disclaimer, I don't even know what to call it, because if you go online, you will actually find people who like literally copy and paste the shirt and are reselling it, and that kind of like triggered the Joey Jordison family. So they posted on social media, you know, to spread awareness, not to support people that are selling the fake design. But they also did make the announcement that they will be selling the authentic shirt soon, only through Rebellion Republic official. So we'll keep an eye out on that. And like I said, you best believe I'm going to try to get my hands on that shirt. The other thing I also wanted to talk about is my boy Till. Oh my god, you're making me grin so much. So who says you have to perform on a stage? So last week in Chicago, Till actually went to a concession stand, orders himself a drink while still performing. Oh my god. And there's a video out there that you can actually check out. He's still in his attire, like he's jamming out. He's in his stage, like, yeah, let's party, you know, whatever. And he's over there performing the song called Platz Eins. I want to say that's how you pronounce it. And everybody on the crowd, like one particular that, you know, Till was standing next to was like in utter shock. He was like, wait, is that Till? And then everybody was like, you know, around him, obviously recording. And some people in the comment section was like, I don't know about y'all, but I would be on my knees crying. And I'm like, same. I would be like, Till, sign something. Sign my boobs at this point, because he would. But yeah, I was like, I would not contain myself if it was Till Lindemann. But yeah, lucky for everybody that got to see him perform live. I'm still sad that I didn't get to see him back in San Antonio. Anywho, the other thing I also wanted to talk about is that Alex Terrible is still continue to tease more songs that have not been released yet. I'm still waiting for Lielers, you know, just saying. But the song that I got to see is from the Alex Terrible fan page on TikTok. And when I heard the song, honestly, I don't know how I feel about it. So I'm going to play you guys a little bit of this song and let me know what you think. I am grinning right now, but hey, whenever that album drops, we're gonna have to talk about it. So hurry up and drop the new album, Slaughter, please and thank you. Let's go ahead and move it along. I got sad news for the metal community. So it is so common or traditional at this point to include the word bleh when the screaming part of the song is getting just too good. You know what I mean. I found out that that specific word, bleh, is getting trademarked by a German company which happens to sell merch with the word printed on it. It is said that the company can also make money when other bands print that word on their merchandise. So this company is called Bleh, like BLEGH.de, for Deutschland, and is currently disabled their comment section due to all the hate that they are receiving. They only have like 300 and something followers on Instagram, so check it out, just saying. And then the lead singer from Architect, Sam Carter, said in response of this whole thing, well, the bleh is for the people, basically. And I say, here, it is for us, the metalheads. But anywho, let's go ahead and move it along. More happy news, so that way we're not all sad the whole time. I found out that Adam Gontier is officially returning to 3 Days Grace. So what does this mean for Matt Walsh, the current lead singer? Rockfeed says that he will still remain as the lead vocalist, in which Matt said, quote, "It's been so much fun and inspiring making this record, combining over 20 years of 3 Days Grace and doing something that no band has ever done. I'm excited for the fans to hear it." And I'm like, so we're gonna have 2 lead singers? And then Adam also said, quote, "I feel like it's been seamless, better than we were expecting. It's like we got back in a room together, picked up where we left off. We have been friends for so long, it's kind of natural to get back in the room together." Okay, I want to hear this new album. I mean, at the same time, like, look, here's a big discussion for y'all. I noticed that, when we talked about Linkin Park, when I say like, oh, whenever like a band member leaves, the music's not the same anymore. That also tends to happen when a band member leaves and then comes back. So, who am I specifically referring to? Well, there's Pink Floyd, Van Halen, Fleetwood Mac, and the Beach Boys. And if you listen to their music, before the lead singer left and then come back, it's different. I don't know. Thoughts on that? But I'm glad that Adam Gontier is back, and hopefully everything is still great, like between Adam and the rest of the band. I'm really hoping that when they do make this new music, we're probably gonna have to compare and contrast to see if it's different than before. So we'll see. Anywho, and the last thing I have for you guys in the music category is something that we never talk about in this podcast, and that happens to be Charli XCX. What? So some of you guys may have come across billboards with her iconic Brat album cover, the one with the green and the black letters. But instead, what you will notice is that instead of the word Brat, it's now switched to music artist's name. But the same brand is still there, like the theme, the color, all of that. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because one particular name came on my feed and I was like, why is his name there? And that happens to be Fred Durst. Yeah, literally, Limp Bizkit. We were just talking about it earlier. So people are assuming that the reason the names are showing up in this particular theme palette, whatever, is that these musician artists are probably going to be collaborating with Charli XCX. So I'm over here like, Fred is going to be collaborating with Miss Brat herself? Let me find out. It better be something good too. We need to listen to it. So keep your eyes peeled, and yes, we're going to be talking about it if it's true. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to the gaming category, and it's just one thing because it's already annoying the hell out of me, and that's Fortnite. Yeah, why are we still talking about Fortnite? So thanks to spooky season, now Billy the Puppet from Saw is in the game. Yay. So apparently Fortnite posted on their social media, like, what does Billy bring on the table to the game? The list goes as saying explosive mythic called Boom Billy, and then spawns a Billy bike with 100 HP that follows a target and explodes. Okay, that doesn't sound that bad. It honestly sounds cool. And then the last thing, it says that the target player will hear, quote, "Do you want to play a game?" Honestly, yeah, okay. I kind of want to play it, but again, it's not going to happen. So that's the only thing I have for you guys in the gaming category. Now let's talk about wrestling and make our way to Bad Blood. So we got to talk about AEW really quick and welcome MVP and Shelton Benjamin. Looks like the homies are trying to find the next Hurt Business, but it's kind of sad. Like, come up with a different character image, honestly. Also, where is Bobby Lashley? Last time we talked about him, he was making his move over here to Dallas. So, yeah. And we know Cedric Alexander's in NXT, so I don't know what they're trying to do. But what I suspect, and I think everybody else suspects too, is that they're trying to recruit Mercedes Money to be in that business. So we'll see how that storyline is going to turn out. The other thing is that more matches have been announced for Wrestle Dream. We got Will Ospreay defending his AEW Intercontinental Championship against Ricochet and Konosuke Takeshita. I want to say that's how you pronounce it. And then Mark Briscoe will be defending the Ring of Honor World Championship against the Learning Tree, Chris Jericho. Hi guys. I freaking love that. It's starting to grow on me. And then let's go ahead and talk about WWE really quick. What did I say last week for the match between Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed? Papa H, I expected better from you, like honestly. Yes, the ring fucking collapsed. But here's what made it worse. I was not expecting that little delay that made me cringe even more. Like as soon as the bodies were already like landed on the ring, maybe like 0.5 seconds later, literally not even a second, the ring collapses and I'm like, wow. I was not having it, but thank God Seth Rollins returning made me feel so much better. So what does this mean? It means that maybe Bronson Reed is gonna have to go up against his little ghost, starting with Seth Rollins and then Braun Strowman, who, you know, he was attempting to kill, and then potentially maybe R-Truth. But that whole betrayal that happened, you know, between Miz and Truth is having a whole different storyline from there. So maybe not R-Truth, but we'll see how Raw's gonna be. And then really quick before we start talking about Bad Blood, Royal Rumble is going to be going to Indianapolis as we mentioned before. The date is set, so mark your calendars for February 1st. Pre-sale tickets will be available on November 13th and general sale will be on November 15th. We already know they're going to be hella expensive, but if you have the money or are actually going to be in the area, go for it. Alright, now let's dive to Bad Blood. Bro, I'm not gonna lie. They started the show at 5 p.m. our time, Central Time, and it ended literally before 8:30. Like, what is going on? Is this how it's gonna be? I have a feeling that it's gonna be like adjusting to the time where the event is being held at. So, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about WrestleMania because it's an hour ahead of us, I think. We'll see. But yeah, so that ended at 8:30 and then the press conference ended at 9 p.m. So I'm like, I get to finish most of my chores that I still had left to do. So there's that. But honestly though, if you guys got to see like the first promotional cinematic video that they did to kick off the show, it was kind of hilarious. Like Papa H just being involved in these little skits just makes it so funny. I love the part where, you know, they're trying to be all like, what do you call it, secretive to, you know, Papa H giving the envelope to Cody, and it's like, here, do a classic steakhouse, this and that, and it's like, oh, and take Metro with you, and then Cody's like, Metro Boomy, and then freaking Papa H, how many fucking Metros you know? And I'm like, my boy. Honestly though, that is probably one of my second favorite skits that he has done. The first favorite skit that I have from him is the one that he did in Braveheart to promote WrestleMania 21. I think that's what it was. But it was funny. So now let's talk about the matches. So the first one, I was surprised. I thought they were going to leave it for last, but now I know why. So the first match was CM Punk going up against Drew McIntyre in Hell in a Cell match. And like Billy and Jigsaw says, oh yes, there will be blood. And blood there was. It was really brutal. And then I was over here like, are they going to make this match really long? I want to say it's like, yeah, brutal. We love seeing every bits of it, you know, chaos and whatnot. But at the same time, it wasn't enough for me to actually like, okay, I really need to watch this. Because I don't know how many times they already went up against each other. I think, to be like, jokes aside, I think it was like, what, 4, maybe 3? I don't know. But at the same time, it's like, what's new? The only difference is like, oh my god, who's actually gonna take the win? But it makes sense that they were gonna give the win to CM Punk, which that's what happened. And then I also couldn't help but to notice that right after CM Punk won the match, my boy was struggling to the point that he needed some oxygen. And I'm over here like, he's old. no, he's gonna have to retire soon. But yeah, I don't know. I wasn't too big on that. But yeah. The next match was Nia Jax going up against Bayley. And a lot of people thought that Tiffany Stratton was going to cash in. And we thought. But it didn't happen. So, same thing. It was boring. I think a lot of these matches weren't really it until the very last one. And that's kind of sad. You know, we had high expectations for this PLE, but at the same time, it's like any ordinary PLE that's not Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, or WrestleMania. Maybe Survivor Series. At the same time, this whole storyline between Nia and Bayley is starting to get very boring for me. Honestly, this whole tension between Nia and Tiffany is more entertaining. So, I hate to say this, but I feel like Bayley is not it anymore. It's like her time has passed. That kind of stung a little bit, honestly. But yeah, because whenever Nia and Bayley were over there going up against each other, I heard the crowd just saying, we want Tiffy, we want Tiffy. And I'm like, so that's why I thought she was going to successfully cash in, because you can hear the crowd. But no, like, it was failed. And at the same time, when I think about it, it's like, well, we don't have a men's Money in the Bank anymore, because that's already gone. And then with Tiffany, it's like, I feel like she needs to hold on to that briefcase just a little bit longer. Maybe for Royal Rumble, I think she'll cash in. I don't think she's going to make it to WrestleMania. But I feel like it's so pretty. That freaking briefcase is so pretty. It still needs its moment. Don't ask me why. But yeah, Nia Jax ended up retaining the title. And there's still some tension between Nia and Tiffany Stratton. So we'll see how that storyline will go. The next match was Damian Priest going up against Finn Balor. I had high hopes for this match, but just along with everybody else, I was bored. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention. I was, doing chores and whatnot in the background. But I'm like, there hasn't been a moment that I was like, oh my God, I really need to see what's going to happen. I mean, Carlito and, big old head, JD McDonough. I don't see why people think he has a big head. I think that's just a gimmick, but still. They come in to interfere in the match and were unsuccessful to it because Damian Priest ended up winning. But at the same time, I'm like, there wasn't that much hype. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, Damian won. What's next? Because Judgment Day can't just keep bullying Damian if that, that kind of settled that whole beef. I don't know. But then again, I was like, okay, if Damian won and if Rhea wins, maybe that will end the whole Judgment Day feud, but that wasn't the case. So we'll talk about that in a bit. But first, little mini break, because I forgot to mention that Papa H came out and made this huge announcement. When he was showing up, I'm like, okay, what is this huge announcement? And then I look behind him, I'm like, is that a belt? And I was freaking out. When I see a belt, that's when I freak out. I'm like, oh, who's gonna get a new design? Or are the women getting a new championship? I don't know. It's just, that's what I was going through. And then Papa H started talking. Of course, we cannot forget that Crown Jewel is gonna be happening, I want to say it's the first weekend of November. And I was like, what are you telling me? I was thinking, and same thing everybody was probably thinking, whatever happened to the greatest Royal Rumble belt? Is that what you're trying to imply? Like, that was the first thing I thought, because he was rambling about Crown Jewel. And then he's over there explaining that Crown Jewel is going to be like an annual event thing. Not like, I don't think Bad Blood is going to be coming back next year. We'll see. But he's explaining that the concept is that Crown Jewel is to name the best of the best. Whether if it's in the men's locker room or in the women's locker room. And with that, they introduced the Crown Jewel champion. And I'm like, oh my God. And it looked exactly like the greatest Royal Rumble belt that we'd never seen, by the way. Braun Strowman still holds that title, which at this point, consider him the longest reigning champion because he still has it. But anywho, so basically the concept is that championship is given to the champion that defeats the other champion. Okay, so let me clarify it on that. So the way how it's gonna be, the men's world heavyweight champion is gonna go up against the undisputed WWE champion, and whoever wins gets that championship belt. Yeah, something that has never been done in a while. And I'm just like, oh, okay, now you made it interesting, Papa H. See, this is why we thank you. So, in other words, if you think about it, we might potentially get Gunther versus Cody Rhodes. And I'm like, and then we're gonna get Liv Morgan going up against Nia Jax. Oh, yeah, that's gonna be feisty to watch, but I'm kind of interested in that. I don't know about Tiffany Stratton going up against Liv Morgan. I don't know. But yeah, that's basically the concept. So now I'm interested in watching Crown Jewel just to see how that result's gonna be. And now let's go ahead and continue on what's been happening on the PLE. So the next match was Liv Morgan going up against Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship. And Dominic was going to be hanging on a shark cage. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but that was basically what was supposed to happen between the custody battle between Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. Supposedly Vince had the idea that they wanted to put Dominic like up, kind of like with the Money in the Bank briefcases, like hanging up while they're fighting and whatnot. So I don't know if all of a sudden it's like, oh, let's finally do it, but Dom's already grown up, and that's exactly what happened. And the thing is that I'm like, it makes sense to have Dom on the sidelines, and there's no way for him to just like escape and try to get out to help Liv get the win. So I'm over here like, oh yeah, there's possibilities that Rhea might win, except a lot of people kind of ruined it for us. And I think I mentioned it last week, I don't even remember, that Raquel was planning to come back and help Liv get the win. So that's just pissing me off a little bit. But before I get to that, Dom did try to escape, and next thing we know, he's like hanging upside down. For like a split second, I was kind of concerned, because I'm like, my boy can't be hanging upside down for so long. Have you guys ever heard about the Nutty Putty incident back in Utah? Which I'm telling you guys, that shit is real. Go look it up. It's kind of terrifying, because some guy died because he was hung upside down, but he was stuck. It was in a cave, and he was stuck, and there was no way of getting him out of there. And because he was hung upside down for so long, he died. And to this day, my boy is still hanging upside down, dead, in the middle of a cave, which is now buried in pure concrete. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking when I saw Dominic hung upside down. I was like, hold up. Okay, we got to finish this match soon. And the thing is that while that was happening, we were still laughing because Rhea Ripley, you know, my Libra queen, she's having her birthday this coming Friday. And then she comes out with a kendo stick, and she already told the ref, oh yeah, let me handle this business. And because Dom is technically not a part of the fight, you know, she's allowed to hit him as much as she wants. So for her birthday, she literally had Dominic as a piñata. And she even said it, happy birthday to me. And then bam, 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 you know. And I was like, okay, this is so hilarious. Where's the candy, Dom? Where? But then that's when Raquel came to interfere the match. And this is where it kind of got a little bit cringy, but so awkward at the same time. Because we were like, okay, she's interfering. There's no rule saying that it was a no disqualification match. It was just a regular match with just Dom hanging up upside down. That was it. That's what we knew. So Raquel's over there interfering. Nobody's stopping the match. And I'm like, hey, where's the ref? And the ref is like distracted on assisting Dom because, again, he's hung upside down. And I'm over here like, that makes sense. And then all of a sudden we hear the bell rung, but it was just like ding, ding, ding. That's it. It wasn't like a continuous ding, 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 ding like we always hear. And then when that happened, Raquel stopped hitting Rhea. But then she puts Liv on top of Rhea, kind of like a 1, 2, 3 count. But I was like, we heard the bell. I don't know if you heard it, but Rhea won the match via disqualification. So, yeah, shit was awkward. What was even worse is that technically, when I rethink about it, Raquel did not have a pop whatsoever. Like, she showed up and everybody's like, oh, we kind of knew already. So now I'm wondering, okay, this whole thing, like us finding out, hey, there's a possibility so-and-so is going to return, yada, yada, yada. Is it going to have enough pop? And I did come across on a video by somebody on TikTok explaining over the fact that the fault is not people saying, hey, somebody might come back. the fault or whoever to blame is the Liv Morgan fans saying and spamming the whole comment section saying Liv's gonna win because Raquel's gonna come back. And that's all we saw, is that Raquel's coming back to help Liv. Like, we weren't surprised, and that kind of killed the vibe, and that's kind of sad for Raquel, because don't get me wrong, she's a really good entertainer. I have mad respect for her, and I was like saying, oh, maybe she'll get settled somewhere in the storyline, like in a good way, eventually making herself a champion, because I would love to see her as a champion. But that was not it, and it kind of made me feel so bad for her at the same time, given the fact that the reason why she's been MIA is because she was going through, it's like a skin condition that she has, and it got worse, but now she's back to normal. So I'm like, okay, she can wrestle. So, and what pissed me off even more is that, come on, Liv, when are you gonna properly defeat Rhea? Because this was not it. I would love to see Rhea, get that championship back and then go up against Raquel, because that could feed families. Liv Morgan, I'm sorry, but you need some work to do. But anywho, that was that match. And then the last match, which again, I was like, how in the hell are they gonna make it past 8:30, I think? Because whenever the last match was starting, it was like already 8:40-ish. So I was like, oh, great. But the next and final match was Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns going up against the Bloodline, or, Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. Let me talk about the entrance for a second, because it wasn't it either. That's when I'm like, everything is starting to fumble. What is going on? So, like, when Cody's entrance was happening, they did ask one of the bands, I forgot from who, I'm so sorry, but it was one of the bands somewhere in Georgia that was doing his entrance. But at first it was okay because I could hear the rhythm of the music. But then when Cody's actual entrance, that starts with wrestling has more than one royal family, we heard it twice. And I was like, huh? Because usually when you hear it, you start hearing the actual music, but then they repeated it again. And I'm like, what's going on? And then when his music is going off, the band was like off rhythm. So yeah, and I was like, okay, how about don't play and let his music just roll like in the background. And then when Roman's theme was coming, he also had another band. I think, again, it was from Georgia somewhere, but it was more like an orchestrated version. And then I did see another video of somebody looking at the band, and they weren't even playing, like they were just there. And I'm like, what? And I saw somebody that had, I don't know what it is. I'm not familiar with like musical instruments, like in that kind of category. But it was these big old drums, and the person's not even hitting them. And you just hear Roman's theme in the background. So I'm like, they should not have those bands whatsoever. But oh well. And then the match, it was interesting, I was like, oh great. Like, they're taking their time. I say what they're trying to do. But then when they actually started, hitting each other and whatnot, it was interesting. But then at the very end, all of a sudden, we see Tama Tonga and Tangaloa coming in to interfere. And I was just like, well, who's going to help them out? And all of a sudden, when the camera's like panning to where Tama Tonga was at, you see somebody standing like right behind them in a hood and a bandana. And I'm like, oh, I know that bandana. See, and nobody was talking about, oh, so-and-so might come back during Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns' match between the Bloodlines. So I am happy to say that Jimmy Uso is now back, and he's still following the tribal chief himself. So yeah, he helped out Roman and Cody, but then after the match was over, the Bloodline still kept attacking Cody when Roman and Jimmy were already outside of the ring. And I'm over here like, oh shit, like, are they still gonna be babyface? Like, or Roman is just gonna break his promise and, dip. But Jimmy, you hear him say to Roman, like, are we gonna help out? Like, I'm gonna do what you tell me to do. Like, still following him. And Roman at first was like, wait. And then he's like, okay, let's go. And I'm over here like, okay, if it's not enough, are we gonna get Jey Uso? And then potentially the Bloodline Wars, like, are we gonna get that? I don't know. But then after that was over, all of a sudden we hear Rock's theme, and I'm like, we are gonna be getting the Bloodline Wars. But I'm like, Survivor Series is next month, like, do we have enough time? But at the same time, like, I don't know, like, because The Rock just came out and he was like, the final boss, bye. You know, and I'm like, sir, we need some explanations, please and thank you. So I have a feeling we're not going to find out until Friday for SmackDown. I don't know. We'll see. But I guess you would say, okay, at first, Bad Blood was like, you know, and then slowly picking up, and then eventually, you know, boring, you know, and then it was awkward. And then I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden, yes, let's fucking go, you know. So I'm like, I guess it did pay it off to watch it at the very end. And then during the press conference, we still didn't get any confirmation of what's going to be happening with, you know, The Rock potentially still coming back as the final boss. But all I got to say is shit's going to be intense. So with that being said, that wraps up this week's episode. As always, make sure to follow my social media accounts at It's Lielers on Instagram, Threads, and X. And subscribe to my YouTube channel at It's Lielers. And also don't forget to follow me on TikTok at Lielers. Lielers on TikTok. Okay, it's been over an hour. I'm tired of talking. But next week, we may be talking about Terrifier 3, so stay tuned. And as always, I hope you guys did enjoy this week's episode, and I will talk to you guys on the next one.